Welcome to another Jamwriter nugget. Bite-sized chunks of wisdom for your writing and publishing journey from Jamwriter authors. From manuscript to market and beyond. Today we'll be talking about audiobooks and how they could possibly help global literacy.
So I went on to ACX, which I'm going to completely fumble over what they actually are, but I know that they're a website and they work with Amazon and I think a few other different, or Audible and a few other different places where once you load it all up, then it gets published there.
Yeah.
But the really cool thing about ACX, if you haven't done it, you get to choose a little piece of your story and load it up, and different producers will kind of audition. So they'll send in little tapes, little recordings of that piece, and you get to see who fits with what your idea is.
Right.
And I worked with a very cool girl. I really liked her. Her name is Ashley Spinner. She's very talented. She's in the, I think she's in Illinois. I think she's in the Chicago area, and she does a lot of theater and that kind of thing. So whenever she came to me and she played around with the different voices, and she actually used different accents for the different characters, and she asked me which one would fit best for what I was considering.
I put it up for auditions on ACX just to kind of see what was happening and how it might sound to have someone else reading it. I instantly dismissed myself reading it because this household is very noisy at times, and you just know I wouldn't have any space whatsoever to do it. So that was just instantly out. Although it is a cheaper option if you just invest in the equipment, I should just say, but not for me. And I had loads of people showing interest, even though I was only offering it as a royalties and royalty share. And I narrowed it down, which was really hard. I had a lot of people who were American applying for it. I think there was it's obviously a big industry over there in America. But because my books are very definitely set in England and Scotland, I had to discount them because even though they were trying to put on an English accent as requested in the audition notes, I could tell, and I knew that readers would be able to tell. So probably 9 out of 10 people that applied were pretty much instantly kind of like, I'm really sorry, but I can hear the twang in your voice and it's just not going to work. The Americans haven't even been discovered yet, so it's just not going to fly at all.
No, and I think when British people try to do the American accent, the Americans feel the same about what we do.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, but it just wouldn't feel right to have the have that twang in a 16th century book. It just doesn't work. No. It really doesn't, and it takes you out of the storyline. So in the end, though, there was a guy who just did the most fantastic audition, and as soon as he spoke, I was just like, oh, he's the one. Absolutely the one. Totally and completely. No questions. This is the guy. But all of this was done just as I was launching. And I said to him, let me just wait. I want to use you, but I didn't feel right getting him to spend the time and the expense of, we had agreed a fee for him to do the work, so a production hour work. But at the time I was just like, I feel like I need to wait until this has got a little bit more momentum once it's launched, because, launching can go horribly wrong as well, before we proceed. So that's where we're at with it now. It's very definitely something on my radar.
You really have to have sufficient sales in book form in your native language before you start looking at things like audiobooks and translation. If I, let's just say I sell 10,000 copies, then it's time to seriously look at, expanding the market by audiobooks. I'm not sure where the cut point might be. Someplace between 1,000 and 10,000, I would think you start to think, well, it's worth spending the money. It's basically, again, if you look at it as a business, it's an investment.
Well, I like audiobooks. It's kind of an expensive buy-in. So, because you're paying for a talent to read your work. So narrators, that can be a couple grand or more, depending on the narrator. And right now for me, where I'm at, my best option is to do Audible through Amazon, which means that I might spend all that money and then they change it up because they're not getting enough pennies out of all these poor authors. Yeah. And off we go.
This one here, for example, if it starts to move well, I could see myself maybe putting it into an audiobook. Again, it's all expense, right? Everything you do from a self-publishing perspective, without an agent and without a publishing company behind you, is going to cost you money. And so you have to decide as an entrepreneur, you're building your brand, and what direction do you want to go? You want to, keep this book moving forward in the audiobook format, or do you want to start maybe producing another book? And I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet in that regard.
Well, this was the other thing I had actually, was about ACX. Then there was this, as I was going through the auditions process, I started reading articles about the Audiogate. I don't know if you've heard about this.
No.
But it's basically about ACX not being very transparent and clear about how many units are being sold versus how many royalties they're paying and all of that sort of stuff. And it made me dig a little bit deeper into for one, the earnings potential, but also, it's very, very, ACX is only available on Amazon. And actually, I started to think, well, Amazon's great and big, but I do know people that won't touch it. That just won't. And actually, as a result, I'm taking my prequel out of Kindle Unlimited, and I'm going to go wide with it because I want to see whether there is another market out there that is bigger, or not bigger, but wants something that isn't so associated with Amazon.
Yeah.
So I am aware that with audiobooks, Amazon have a very big share. Don't get me wrong, ACX is huge. But is that cutting off people that really would like to? I don't know. I'm not. I'm a bit on the fence about it all, to be honest with you. But I do feel quite passionately that I do want to do an audiobook.